Welcome everybody to the DC Citizens Coalition. We're going to be starting in just a second.
Oh, awesome. The thingy.
Good evening, everybody. It's good seeing y'all. We're going to go ahead and begin. And why don't we start by standing and sing the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Let's pray real quick. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for this time we're gathered here. It's our privilege to be able to be here and gather in freedom. We just praise you. And we lift up to you the matters of our country, of our county, of our state, our nation. We just pray that you would just do the miracles that need to be done to open up the Red Seas in front of us, to perform miracles and do things we can't do. So we just ask you to bless us, Jesus. We ask for revival in our nation. We ask for you to open up hearts and minds and eyes to the truth. And we ask your blessing. And may your Son be glorified in all we do. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're going to go ahead and begin real quick. Who's coming up first? Just curious on our agenda. I know that we have written it out. Yeah, so Abby will come to us. Just while I'm up here, I'm just going to kind of wax theological and just tell you as a pastor, first of all, this gathering is not really a function of our church. In case you didn't know, we're not Journey Roseburg. What we're doing here, we're Citizens Coalition. And this meeting started out of just a group of people early August who were kind of appalled at some of the things happening, just like you were. And so it evolved out of that. We were using this facility, but it's really not a church function. But I'll tell you, as I process all this through my theological grid as a pastor, I can tell you this, that I get fired up too, because from what I understand, our Father in heaven created us with freedom in mind. In fact, the very first 3 words he spoke to Adam in the garden was, "You are free." It's the first 3 words. In fact, he was relating to the garden. He was talking about what he would be free to eat. It's interesting in the Hebrew, it's eat freely, or you may eat freely. So the way we translate that is, you are free to eat any tree in the garden. But the first 3 words is freedom, and right in the chapter before it says, let's make man in our image. God says, I want to make someone that reflects me. And the very first trait he embedded into the creature in whom he would place his very image, the very first trait is freedom. So it's pretty easy for me to just get fired up when we see freedoms taken away. And America is the very first country who was founded upon that very principle in the history of mankind. And we're not going to let that go away. And we're excited about what God could do to keep that thing going. And so as a pastor, that's where I stand. And there you go. I'm done. A little amen would be good, but really I'm just going to pass it off to Abby. She's going to give us our new Braveheart speech, right? Okay, come on up here.
Hello, I'm one of the little group admins. We're not leaders. We're just you guys that happen to talk more on Telegram and make plans for the meetings, I guess. I wanted to, Jeff, do we have our mission statement? Shane? I guess I'm looking at it, but I don't know. Yeah. So I just wanted to, we kind of try to go over, because I assume sometimes we have some of the same people, sometimes maybe some new or different people. So Douglas County Citizens Coalition is dedicated to peacefully working together to protect our freedoms by taking intelligent action, offering real solutions to those in power, standing with each other when needed, and using the Constitution and supporting laws as our indisputable platform. We all see all these different groups on Facebook or Telegram all around the state or the country that you kind of follow, but we knew it was important to kind of get focused on our local action here in Douglas County. And there's a few of us who had been meeting kind of frequently trying to figure out what to do, and that's kind of how this got started. And so we wanted something in place to network our county residents so that we could make some positive changes. And just as some refreshers, some of the first things we did was meeting with our sheriff, who released a letter that night, a statement that night, as far as his position for the governor and the rest of the state, as far as staying by the Constitution. So, I'm not going to say that 55 of us showing up at his office that day caused that letter to be produced, but I think it might have upped it to be released a little sooner. And then there was a big discussion with our commissioner's office about our community health public information, I'm not sure what his title, Dr. Dannenhofer, and his fear messages that he was putting out constantly, and asking for some more people to put their 2 cents in on the COVID situation. And so as a result of that, I think we're completely rid of the Facebook Lives and a lot of that fear messaging that was going on. So again, some more positive action. We did a huge showing out at the Winston School Board meeting. I think there was 400 or 500 people there. And think made a huge impact that night on the school board. The following meeting that they had, as far as making some further decisions, it got at the last minute moved to Zoom, so it was less impactful, I think. But there's a lot of things. I just wanted to point out that, you know, these are some things that our group has taken action on and has had some positive things to show and come from it. So, but we also know that there are people who are out there. Everybody knows there's everybody out there who's out to get anybody who is pro-freedom, questions anything, the science and all of that. So we try to figure out ways to not get thrown out in the public, torn apart. So that's why we've asked from the beginning, it's like Fight Club. What happens in coalition stays in coalition to an extent. It's just we don't want to get our name dragged through the mud by different people who would do that. We are trying hard to have people that we want to bring as many people as possible into this network, but they need to be vetted as far as being like-minded. Don't just add somebody in without even talking to them. Really just, you know, make sure everybody's on the same page and that they're not going to be somebody who turns around and calls a news review and says, oh, there's this white supremacist hate group that's meeting and they're planning attacks and insurrections and all that stuff. So that's why, you know, we're not on Facebook and Instagram, and we just have our Telegram channel and our little in-person meetings. Or whatever we do is action, like when we meet with the commissioners or the sheriff or the school board meetings. So I just want to kind of get everybody up to date on that. And the other thing I want to say is Olga is our positive, she's like the fun mom, and I'm like, at my house, I'm the disciplinarian. I'm the not fun parent. So I'm not going to say like anyone here specifically, because I don't know who everybody here is, and I don't know what everybody's participated in. But when I said, you know, other people here, we're not the leaders of Douglas County Coalition. Everybody here is basically their own leader, and I'm not qualified to be a leader of this coalition. Olga probably is. Sheila works her butt off getting a lot of stuff done for our group. Jeff, Clay, we have some really good people who are constantly coming up with more ideas. And since the group has formed, there have been more people who have come forth, Kayana, and other people who have, and Sylvia, who have just basically dove in head first and taken on more and more action items. So basically what I'm saying is, if Kayana can do it, and Sylvia can do it, and Olga and Sheila can do it, and I can do it, and I'm just a dumb sheep farmer with a lot of kids, everybody here can do it, and all of your friends can do it, and nobody's going to come in and do it for us, is a thing. And I've said this before, I'd rather be out backpack spraying weeds, which I never thought I'd say before, because this is really time consuming. But I will be the first person to raise my hand and say that up until the last year, I didn't pay any attention to what was going on in politics or government, our legislation for the state of Oregon, local politics, any of that. I didn't go to school board meetings. So that's on me. That's my bad. I'm guilty of that, and that's something that hopefully is forever rectified now, because I'm all in. And so I've been out to the Winston-Dillard School District meetings, even though I live in Dixonville. Kayana came all the way up to come to our Glide one. So there's board of commissioner meetings, what, every Wednesday? Every other Wednesday or every Wednesday? City councils there's 2 city council on Monday nights. It's like second and fourth Monday night of the month. There's Zoom. But just start there. Start going to a meeting somewhere and giving your public input, because this is where we've got to all jump in now, and we've all got to start doing something, saying something. Go to a store, and as long as you're not worried about your health, if you feel good about it, don't wear a mask. Smile at somebody, because it feels really good to see somebody and look them in the face and smile at them and see them smile back. So those are ways that you can do something about it, and it doesn't have to be an active, a heroic action that, only Batman or Superman can pull off. But it's us. It's got to be us that's going to do this, that's going to make any positive change, and that's going to be going to the commissioners' meetings, going to school board meetings, going to city council meetings, paying attention to the stuff going through the legislature, which I know is super boring, but now it's not, because it's stuff like getting rid of hunting and getting rid of farm practices. And, they're doing things like paying the farmers, kind of blackmail, forcing farmers into destroying their crops, which is going to trickle down at some point on all of us. So it's not, everybody has something else they'd rather be doing, for sure. There's all sorts of stuff, Netflix, Hulu, all of the internet now, which I think is actually probably why that happened, because it sucked us all in. We're all busy with our stuff, whether it's grandkids and kids' activities. I spent, I don't know how much time on the road in the last month and a half, watching volleyball games, football games, kids showing animals. So we're all busy, and that's kind of how I think people who are like-minded like us, we have our lives to live and our work to do and our family to take care of, and we're grinding it out. But now we've realized, oh man, the other side was doing other stuff really sneaky, but we can come back and be successful. But it's going to be everybody. And so if all you can do is go to one board meeting for the commissioners once a month or every 2 months, go to that. Write a letter, send an email to your representatives. We sent out papers 2 meetings ago. We gave everybody a sheet of paper that had at least a few representatives' phone numbers on it, and hopefully somebody called. I don't know if anyone did, but that's something that's simple that can be done, because complaining about it on social media but not doing anything about it is basically doing nothing. So I see a lot of that for Glide School District, a lot of people getting on Facebook and ranting and raving and complaining about what our school board's doing, which is nothing good, but then they don't show up to the meetings. So that's bad on them. So basically what I'm saying is get involved, start doing stuff, and keep coming to coalition meetings and invite your friends if they're like-minded, because I think that we're going to do some great things. And it might not always seem like a super action-packed night or events going on, but we're kind of building the framework. So next thing coming down the pike pretty soon are going to be vaccinating kids at school. So people are going to get fired up, and then you're going to see a big mass of people come in again. So we're basically kind of laying the groundwork, framework set up for people to be ready, and we have, like I said, some good things coming up. I'll bring Olga up now for the PMA stuff. Speaking of good things coming up, hopefully, options.
Thank you, Abby. I forgot to put in my contacts, so I can't see anybody. I'll just imagine you're naked like I'm supposed to. Okay, so I was asked to give update on private membership associations, which I hate to say that we're still working on it. So some things are happening. We met with a group who want to establish a grocery store. Some people actually went to look at the property, so things are happening. However, what we would like to do is Sylvia put together a survey, and it's very basic, but we want to know what you feel are the needs of your family and of the community as far as PMAs go. So what organizations, we know we need medical, we know somehow we need schools, but what else? There's mention of daycare, so look through this, fill it out, and turn it in. This is anonymous, but we just want ideas on where we should throw our focus, okay? So please fill that out. PMA is a private membership association, and it's an organization much like LLC or S-Corp or sole proprietorship. It's something that unfortunately nobody tells you about in schools, or if you went to start a business to the small business building, whatever organization here locally, they won't tell you that you can form a PMA. PMA is much like a family, so whatever happens behind your closed doors in your house is your business. So the government is supposed to stay out of it. So PMAs are immune to state and federal laws, as long as, of course, you're not doing criminal activity and not harming somebody. But when you turn your business into a PMA, or if you start from scratch a business that's a PMA, it only serves its members. So you have to be a member to do business with them. But because it's a family, you can do whatever you want. Well, okay, not whatever, you know. So Mike, the guy who's helping us with creating those PMAs, likes to use an example of, you know, if you come over to his house and he lets you try some tequila and then you like it and he decides to sell you a bottle of tequila, OLCC is not involved because it's a private home, so you can do that, you know, as long as, of course, he's not selling it to a minor, then, you know, common sense laws still apply. So that type of thing. So mandates, vaccine mandates, mask mandates won't be applicable in a PMA because nobody can come to my house and tell me to put on a mask to talk to my husband, right? Huh? The what? School curriculums, yes. So basically it's, you know, think of it as your home on a large scale, right? Like they put together a grocery store in California and it's a PMA. So people shop in this grocery store and whatever happens in the grocery store stays in the grocery store. The authorities have, you know, no ruling over what goes on there. They can sell alcohol there without having a license, for instance. So, but again, we're not after alcohol here. That, you know, that's an added bonus. But we're after clinics that will serve the unvaccinated if the time ever came where we would be last in line. You know, we're after schools if we cannot fix what is currently going on in our schools. So that's what PMAs are, in short. Now we have a PMA subgroup on Telegram, so you're welcome to join it. You can find it on our news and action channel, and we'll post it again in the main group. And if you're not in the main group, get in the main group. So go join that subgroup. I guess we can post the subgroup on the main Telegram channel, coalition channel. And you can go check out the information. There's some articles about it that talks about what PMA is better than I'm relaying it right now. Okay, so let's fill this out and turn that in. Now, something that wasn't on the agenda, but I just approved it by Sheila, so I'm going to mention that while I'm up here. I was talking earlier with Tom Myers, who some of you know, he's with, is it SignFX or FX Signs? So he is the guy who donated a banner for Evergreen that all of us signed with, you know, thanks to Dr. Powell for treating us and the whole community. Anyway, so he said that he will donate stickers. Just let him know what kind of stickers you want. I mean, I think he's putting "Let's Go Brandon" on his car today. But he's the guy who is riding around in a truck that's wrapped with ivermectin because he, you know, had a bad case and, you know, ivermectin saved his life. So, but Tom is not, you know, he hasn't been coming to the meeting because unfortunately he lost a 32-year-old nephew. And, you know, as his words today, Mercy murdered him, which, you know, we've heard. We've lost people there. And so he said he'll join us again. It's been just rough on their family. He'll join us in a couple of weeks. So, but he is determined to spread the word. So he's going to donate stickers. He's going to donate banners. He's going to do, if we need anything other than, you know, like if anybody wants to get car wraps done or anything like that, he will do that for us as well at cost, okay? So he's not looking to make money on it, he's looking to really serve the community, okay? And where was I going with this? Oh, well, anyway, so what he said, his doctor, of course, didn't treat him, for COVID. He just told him to go home and get worse, of course, and then come back when his lips turned blue. So when, after Tom survived, and when he heard that his doctor was one of the doctors who signed his name under that, remember about a month ago, the letter came out where the physicians of Douglas County said, we are against alternative treatments and we are pro-vaccine, right? So that's the only thing that's going to help us. So he signed his name under it, and so that made Tom mad, so he went and gave him 1-star review for how he treated him and, signing the letter. And actually, the office called him, and then the doctor called him himself, so it really bothered them. And they were trying to make it right, but Tom was happy because he, as Tom said, was happy to tell him over the phone what a piece of crap he was. So, well, anyway, so Tom suggested that what if our group goes, since all these people really care about reviews, why don't we go and let Mercy know how we feel about it? When it's on a large scale, maybe they'll notice, maybe they'll hear us, right? We all know that the protocol is killing people, and we all know that there is an alternative protocol. I don't know if Paul is here. Again, I can't see anybody. No, not Paul Romero. Paul, the retired PA from Evergreen that I was supposed to meet with. No, maybe not. So he's compiled 15 different protocols for treatment of COVID. We have more things to treat COVID right now than we ever had for flu, okay? So, well, anyway, so Tom's idea is let's go to Mercy's Facebook, not recommend them. I don't think you can do stars anymore. Let's go to Google, give them 1 star, be honest. I'm sure you all, and if you had a great experience with Mercy, you don't have to do this. But if you didn't, please go and be honest. And let's do it tonight and tomorrow so that they see it. It makes an effect when they see such a large amount of people doing it, okay? Go to Facebook. On Facebook, if you're still on Facebook, you can give stars, but I think you can do I recommend it or I don't recommend it, and you can write why. And then on Google, you can actually do stars. So I'd go for 1, you can go for 2. It's, your choice. And then you also can write why you're giving them as many stars as you did. Okay? So let's see if it works, and let's see how many of you do it. I encourage all of you to do it because these are our brothers and sisters who are dying in the hospital. And maybe some of those doctors are not evil, they're just misinformed and ignorant and educated idiots. But, the fact is that people are dying and it needs to stop, right? Okay. Okay, I think I have more stuff at the very end, so I'll come back with that. Who's next? Okay, yes, we're looking for a location with high visibility where we can put a big banner, right? Okay, so Sylvia says we all see the Trump one on the hill, right? So we want something, we're not doing another Trump one, we'll do something, Trump is fun, but we'll do something more productive. Huh? Okay, great. Have them put more lights around it, yes. So, but if you know of a property in town that wouldn't mind erecting something, some kind of a, wake up banner, we would be happy to put a banner on that, okay? Thank you.
If you're done with your pens.
Yeah, okay.
So on what she was talking about with the big signs, another thing that's really effective is the little yard signs that we all see during campaigns. So that's another option. So there's some people who have some resources for.
Thank you. Yeah, so Tom said it's too expensive for him to do those in large quantities, so we're going to put our first order of 100. The quota that I got for it is around $450 for 100 of those. They're 18 by 25, 2-color signs, so it will be like white and, a color. If you've seen dynamic martial arts signs around town, that's what they're gonna look like, okay? I hope you've seen them, because I put them out like a mad woman, okay? Well, it's still being discussed. However, I think we were wanting to put something like a big QR code with resources that people can scan so that they don't have to memorize the website. And the website can be taken down, but QR code can be attached to anything. So if website gets taken down, we'll attach something else to that QR code. And maybe, something along the lines of, or learn the truth or something, right? Something unthreatening. Or if you have suggestions, put it on the back of the survey, what you would like to see on banners and signs. Okay? Thank you.
Well, just the importance of that is that I think a lot of people are only seeing certain messages via their social media or their news channels, stuff like that. So this is another way that we can be productive, is make our own marketing campaign to get kind of truth out there. And so, like what she was talking about with the QR codes, having the websites, it is important to have factual, truthful information out there. So what's cool is putting a website there so people can actually go to a specific website and get the information and not just see random propaganda. So, and then like, you know, I just have the traffic out to Glide and back, but we have some property where we could potentially put, you know, some sort of a sign like that. And so there's a lot of billboard companies that will not put political stuff our direction up. We've had people in a state group that we're in contact different businesses and they won't do it. And then Sylvia contacted Roseburg Cinemas because they have a nice community health or Mercy Health ad on their theaters. It's your, yeah, get vaccinated. So she inquired about what it might be involved for us to put an ad on there. They were very interested in what the message was. So, which, yeah, she was very vague about it, but I have a feeling it would probably end in the same direction as the billboard company. So, well, we can get around that. You know, I was at CFN out in Dixonville today, and I saw the little Joe Biden. I did that sign stickers on the gas tanks out there. So, it's working. So, get stickers, put them out. If you want a yard sign, or if you have an idea for what a yard sign could say or something, write it on the survey, put it on the coalition channel, because, yeah, Tom's awesome. So, was there anything else for marketing? Okay. So, the next thing on our list, we have Sheila worked really hard to put this letter, well, Kiana and Sheila, actually, Kiana started it. There's been a campaign, much like the affidavit campaign that we worked on before, across the country, where different states, it started, I think, in Louisiana, put together this letter, this You Stood By letter, and their residents all over the state signed it and sent it in to various representatives, elected officials. And so we want to be part of that. And so I don't know where he's at, but we had a very generous person bring in 500 copies of this letter. Kiana and Sheila worked really hard over like at least a week's time taking this letter and revising it and getting it right for Oregon. And I'm going to have Sheila read it since she worked so hard on it. I think it's impactful to hear it read. And then at the end of the night, we have, I don't know, is Janae somewhere here? Okay, Janae worked super hard making labels with addresses for 60 representatives in Oregon, senators. I think she's got our mayor, city council, attorney general, our famous Kate Brown, and secretary of state. So we would love to send them as many letters as possible. Other people in the state are hopefully doing the same thing. If you can't sign 60 of them tonight, take some home and mail them on your own. But this goes back to what I said earlier. Like, Aaron copied 500 pages of this letter that Sheila and Kiana drafted. Janae brought the label, so we're making it super easy. But this is all stuff that, you know, you guys could take right off the coalition page also. So if you don't want to hang around and sign 60 of them tonight, or 70, or however many there are, take some home, fill them out, sign them or whatever. You don't have to fill it out, sign them. Get in touch with us. Maybe we can work something out with Jeff where they can drop it off here and we can get them sent in this week. Or yeah, take one copy home. If there's certain reps you want to send it to, you don't feel like you want to send it to all 80 or 90 of them, make the copies you need to send them to. I'm going to let Sheila read it.
To Attorney General Rosenblum, Secretary of State Fagan, Governor Brown, the Oregon Legislature, mayors, city councils, commissioners, school boards, and sheriffs, from we the people of Oregon. Today, we address you regarding your failures of leadership and failure to protect the fundamental rights of your constituents. We, the people of Oregon, have called, emailed, protested, shown up to school board meetings, council meetings, and committee hearings. With one voice, we demanded you preserve and protect our freedoms. We offered you ample opportunity to address these issues, yet you stood by while overreaching mayors, an unaccountable federal leviathan, and a tyrannical governor destroyed our state. We demand that you answer for your inaction, and we will continue to utilize all forms of communication to call attention to your failures and promote your impending removals from office. We have determined that if you are not standing up for all of our freedoms, you are a part of the problem. The Governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General, and legislators will now stand by and watch as we peacefully remove them from their respective positions. How have you failed us? You stood by while our constitutional rights were trampled by tyrannical bureaucracies in the name of health and safety. You stood by while jobs, schools, weddings, funerals, reunions, festivals, concerts, and sporting events were shut down, while thousands freely burned, looted, and rioted in our neighborhoods for months. You stood by while small businesses were shattered. Meanwhile, Wall Street and Amazon made record profits. Where were you, Governor Brown? Where were you, Mayor Wheeler, when crimes were being perpetrated against we the people month after month? Oregonians want to know. You stood by while our kids were deprived of their education, sports, childhood milestones, and were muzzled by political pseudoscience. You stood by while countless serious security issues with the November 2020 election canceled and diluted our votes. You stood by while our Secretary of State allowed us to vote on machines that have been uncertified since 2017. Why will we be using the same uncertified machines in upcoming elections? You stood by while the Arizona audit uncovered just how vulnerable our election systems are, and yet the people have not seen any of you take any action to restore faith in our elections. You stood by as Dr. Fauci and the NIH lied about the origins as well as the gain of function taxpayer funding of the virus. This led to the loss of many Oregon lives. You stood by with the blood of thousands of Oregonians on your hands, while inexpensive, effective off-label early treatments were made difficult to obtain for treatment, or even banned, ridiculed, and minimized, favoring expensive, unapproved drugs and shots to help line the pockets of Big Pharma. It does not matter if you have achieved other victories, as you ignore the biggest and most important fights in our history. You have failed our country, our state, and we the people. We no longer consent to your failed governance. In closing, you stood by while Oregonians swore to protect were deprived of their constitutional rights secured through the blood, sweat, and tears of our military and forefathers. You may now resign and help us right the ship, or continue to stand by and watch while we remove every single one of you from your position and take back our beloved state. Your time is up. Regards, we the people of Oregon.
So, you know, you guys could have just grabbed that letter, signed it, handed it to her, to Janae or somebody to turn in, but I think it's pretty impactful hearing it read. And I think it's how all of us feel. And so I'm going to also back up to what I was talking about earlier. When we did the affidavits, I don't know if any of you were here when we did the affidavits, probably about a month or so ago. We sent off 70? 80? This picture right here, so we sent off about 82 affidavits because there was a couple people in the state of Oregon working on a writ of mandamus to the governor. And I believe all 50 states in the country also filed a writ of mandamus against their governors. And so as a result of that, because it became emergency or urgency, this group of people was able to go file an emergency writ to the Supreme Court, starting with Alabama, which happened to be in Clarence Thomas's district. And you probably can't see, but this is one of the people who filed it today. And this right here is a list of each citizen for each state who filed those writ of mandamuses. And right here is Matthew Jonathan Maxwell, a citizen of the state of Oregon. And of those 80 affidavits, I think they were split, 40 of them went with Matthew's writ. So as far as impactful and things that you're doing or that we're working on, we worked on that. I mean, that's what your affidavits are a part of, is this writ, emergency writ, going to Supreme Court Justice Thomas. So that's something I forgot to mention earlier. And then Shane, this also goes back to, could you put that other slide up here too? Nope. This one, yes. Has anybody seen this slide before? I freaking love this slide, and Clay, thank God, had it for us to put up here tonight. That's all it takes. I don't know if anybody has seen like the union workers, John Deere employees. I was listening today, New York Police Department has, they don't even have a number yet for how many of those guys, or men and women, aren't being, 6,400. New York firefighters, they're sanitation workers. I love that because that place stinks. New York stinks, so I imagine it's getting really bad right now. But it's happening everywhere. So the more people who are able to do it, I think, is there anybody here who, well, I know Janae left her job, but is there anybody here who said, yeah, we're not going to do it? I know the UCC nursing students, they said, hey, this isn't okay. You can't refuse religious exemptions, and met with the president of UCC and made a major change. And UCC then determined that, oh yeah, nursing students and then dental could go ahead and turn in a religious exemption, that they would accept that, because at first they weren't. So it's happening, it's possible. The more people say no, and the more people who stand up to it. If you're in a job and you're being pushed, there's court cases across the country where there's judges that are blocking the mandates for different, sectors of employees. So if you know somebody who's in that position, encourage them to, fight back against it, because that's what it's going to take, even here in Old Douglas County. Right. Right. I think there are a lot of people out there across the country who wanted to get the vaccine, or who were forced into it and got it, but who are also standing up with those who are saying no. I think it was one of the high-up NYPD guys, not a captain, but I don't know, he was president of something, or no, it was the fire department, because he said, this is a point in time where you cannot bend and you cannot break. And that group of firefighters, he said, you don't want a firefighter that's going to bend or break, and these guys aren't. So anyways, those are some of the things that, we need to remember, is it is happening across the country, and I think the world, if you see any of the other countries that are all kind of standing up for the same things. Do you want to talk about your? Okay, so I think that's it for me. So Olga's going to come back up and talk again.
So one thing that I wanted to mention that we need to do, there they are. Okay. We have more stuff for you to fill out. So on the subject of preparedness, now some of us okay, let me have a disclaimer. This group is for freedom, okay? If you choose to get a vaccination, that is your personal choice. You're still welcome here, you're not condemned for it, okay? You're supported. If you chose to get vaccinated and you regret doing that, we'll support you, we'll help you find, detoxing treatments for that and things like that. So I just wanted to say that. So those of us who chose not to get vaccinated and are now wondering what happens if we ever need a blood transfusion, right? And, are we gonna get unvaccinated blood? No, because everything is being mixed as far as we know. Like if you call the Red Cross, they have no idea, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to become walking blood banks, okay? So we need people's names, we need their blood type, their phone number and email, and so we can start with our little community, but if one of us in a car accident tomorrow and they need a certain blood type, right? We say, oh, Olga is a donor. Let's call Olga, and there's, 10 other people. So we go and help our brother or our sister out, right? So, and we don't have to store our blood. It's running through our veins, right? Just, hold off on booze. Be prepared, just in case. Okay, so if you don't know your blood type, how to find out? From what I understand, if you've ever had blood drawn, you can call your doctor and figure out if they know your blood type. There's a way, you can go donate blood. There are also kits that you can buy online. And if anybody in the medical profession actually knows what the best way to do it, please speak up and, or post on the coalition group what other ways people can find out their blood type. But I think I'm going to start with calling the doctor and asking, if they have it on record. But if you know your blood type, please fill this out tonight. Again, I know we're always asking for your information, but, Yes, good point, yes. So this is only for unvaccinated. And if you've been vaccinated, but you don't want to receive and mix your type of vaccine with another type of vaccine, right? We will still help you out if you need blood, right? So if you're unvaccinated, put your name here, put your blood type, phone number, and email so we can contact you if, God forbid, somebody needs blood transfusion. But, this is reality now, and so we need to take action. Yes, sir. This is a resource for this group and your loved ones and your friends. If you know somebody is in need and they don't want to get vaccinated blood, because as far as we know, the Red Cross does not differentiate with their blood supply, whether it's vaccinated or not. They will not be able to guarantee you that the blood that you're getting is, That would be nice, yes. If you would like to take up on that project.
Compared to regular blood, it's quite darker.
Yeah, well, anyway, so let's be proactive for our friends and families, and let's become walk-in blood donors. So we're going to pass this around. If you would be so kind to become a donor for this group, we would appreciate it. Yes, ma'am? So, okay, great question. So we'll have, the coalition will have the record. We can create a group where all of that is, a subgroup where all of that is listed. Or if people are not comfortable with just being listed, you just contact the coalition and say, hey, we need a blood transfusion, and we have the list, where do you go from there? Well, I think, to do the actual process, that's when we call. So we call, hey, Sheila, somebody is in the hospital, they need you to come to the hospital to donate blood. That's as simple as that, huh? Right. This was actually one of the suggestions of the PMA guy from California. He suggested the walk-in blood bank as well. That's what they're doing there. Yeah, no. They're doing a walk-in blood bank. So, because he said it's really hard to store blood. It's, the blood, plus to store it, you have to separate it, and, you want whole blood. So, okay. Yes, ma'am. Will the hospital do the transfusion if you're not vaccinated? Well, as of right now, yes, right? As of right now, they're taken unvaccinated. But that's the point of us creating clinics that are not hospital, is so that if that time ever comes, that we're able to, yes. But as of right now, like tomorrow, if you need blood transfusion, I'll be able, if I'm your blood type, I'll be able to come and donate blood to you, even though we're not vaccinated. But I don't know what the future holds. So let's hope for the best and prepare for the worst, right? Okay? All right. Jeff? Okay, Jeff's next.
On this the use did by letter. Oh, jeez. The use did by letter that Sheila read earlier, and like I was talking about how I felt it was really impactful. One of the ideas that we came up with, as far as all this marketing campaign goes, is to get a bunch of people together to read that, record it, and float that all over the place. Kids reading a line, you know, who were impacted by school. You stood by while I missed everything for a year and a half or 2 years. You know, I missed volleyball, I missed homecoming, I missed everything. Older people, you stood by while I couldn't go into the hospital with my spouse who was very ill or who passed away. Things like that. We'd like to get maybe one person per line. So if there's anybody who's interested in being a part of that project, please track down me or Sylvia or Sheila. Sylvia, raise your hand. So everybody knows. Sheila? Anyways, that kind of goes in with Olga and Clay have talked about too in the past, doing some testimony videos that we would also like to put out on social media as far as real life experiences, because of the fact that, like we said before, all these people think that this is just conspiracy theory talk, that, you know, people are actually, you know, impacted by things happening right now, or that maybe they're not getting the truth about the science. So anyways, keep those things in mind if you do have a testimony as far as being impacted by a lot of the things going on, or you know of some insider information. You know, we can have our own project filming on Thursday. So please contact, if you have any, contact Olga about meeting with her to do a video, because we have some people had worked at Mercy saying that treatments that they knew for a fact were very effective if used early on, but weren't being done at the hospital. We do actually have people that we know who've had family members that were very minimally, if at all, treated, but then turned away because they weren't vaccinated at the hospital. So those things are starting to happen. So if there's something, you know, like that that's happened that you know about, or a teacher or a state or federal or medical person who lost their job or had to make a hard decision, any of those types of stories would be good. Or wrongful deaths, like people who, you know, lost someone and it went down, and KPIC, thanks to our county public information officer, saying, well, they died of COVID and it was a motorcycle accident or something like that. But, you know, getting the truth out, something like that would also be applicable to this. And it's just a way of us, again, furthering a little bit more truth out there locally for our community. So that was it. Sorry, thanks, Jeff.
I think that this is the very last thing on our agenda. So, and then what we have to do after this is we're going to invite you to hang out and connect in a group of people that are kind of in your field. If you're medical, if you can just do a little small group breakout discussions, and we'd love to hear feedback from your groups. And let us know. We'll be kind of floating around, talking with you and seeing what you're coming up with as far as action items and things like that. So that's coming up right after that. And Paul has a... Federal agency people? Raise your hand. Great. Some really cool news with Paul, so that's great. Yeah. Yeah.
On the events telegram thing, action, could we do like a pinned calendar that at the top that says when the commissioners are meeting and when all those guys are, so that we don't have to follow the feed to know those things, we just have it at the top?
Great idea.
Thank you.
So I'm glad we're talking about get our juices worked up to find out what our action items are. I'm just going to close with, I guess, a summary of the school board issue. The reason why is it came up when I went to be sworn in as a PCP. So I went to a meeting about a week and a half ago. What was that? So I went over and they swore me in, and I did this, you know, I do solemnly swear thing, and it was kind of fun. But I'm learning what it means to be a PCP now, which is a precinct committee person, and how vital it is. We fill all those spots and so on. When I was there, Jasmine Geyer was there. There's a lot of questions regarding what's going on with the Winston School Board and some of the things going on. And so I want to bring up just this discussion because it became apparent to me that what we're doing with the Winston School Board is that there are 5 people on the board, right? And 2 of them that are on the board had run, and they basically they won their position on the board because they had lobbied as conservative Republican people. But it turns out that when it came down to actually getting the resolution to not accept what the state was doing with regards to the mask mandates for these kids in the school district, they generally agreed, we are going to draw up a resolution. But by the end of that meeting, two of those conservative people who got most of your votes if you would have been living in that area as a conservative Republican, had flipped the wordings around, so basically that the district superintendent could do just about whatever he wanted. And that's what's going on in the recall of those two. They're the two Republican-ish, conservative-ish. Is that right there? Oh, okay, that's the blood type thing. In any case, I don't know how people who run for particular positions, get on the ballot and they kind of put the word out that they're conservatives and they're going to get your vote. And by the time you and I, when we pick up that ballot, we don't know these people. Unless you've done your research, you talk to my mother-in-law who goes to my church, she'll tell you about who all the people are that we need to get in the office, right? But I basically am trusting that these people are conservative and that they stand up for freedom. And when it gets down to the crunch time moments, and like that board meeting, when they actually had a resolution drawn up, that they would stand in the gap and do the right thing. Well, that's what the Winston School Board recall is. They were trying to recall those two conservative people and get rid of them, put some people that are willing to be courageous and stand up. And I guess, when's the next election? 20 months from now? So we don't think we want to wait that long. We'd like to consider making action happen, and we think it would be an exclamation point, I think, in not just our state, but in the nation, that we're removing people that just won't stand for freedom. I think that's step 2. Okay? We've got candidates that we could throw out there. I don't live in the area. I would do it, but. Oh. Can you give that to her so that people know what you're saying online and over here too?
One of the things that I just recently learned at the Republican Platform Convention is that there are a list of, Nancy and could say it even better, not requirements, but it's what we believe in the Republican platform, and it's written out.
Yep.
And so if they are not, and that specifically is it written in there, and they're not doing it.
They're not.
That is exactly the reason why they can be removed.
That's right.
And it is legitimate. So they're not following the Republican platform.
Exactly. And that's why we have legitimate means to try to put people in there that won't back down, or they'll do exactly what we expected them to do. Because if we voted them in and their constituents know that they're not doing what they were voted to do, we need to replace them. So, and that's what I think that when I was talking about it, there's a guy who goes to our church. He's on the Roseburg School Board. And, I think he could have, he makes his vote. He's basically, one out of many that are just going the wrong direction in our opinions. But there are a couple others in the Roseburg School Board that did lobby as at least some sort of conservatives who, when it comes down to actually voting for what they feel we put them there to vote for, they vote the wrong way. And we should consider doing that in a Roseburg School District. So, exactly. And I don't know. I want to give latitude to these people, because maybe, by the time they get into their position, do they just lose touch with what freedom is? Do they just lose touch with what the values are of what it means to be an American? And maybe they do. I'd like to believe the best, but But here's the other thing. Maybe they don't know there's a group of people like us here that would be their courage for them if they would just do the right thing. And they just held to their guns. And so what if they're outnumbered? They just need to do the right thing. So we don't necessarily feel like the best thing to do is to wait 2 years. And we're thinking about campaigning to removing the people in our Roseburg district now. So that's what we're talking about. Yeah, Clay?
And with that, for anybody who, I just want to do a straw poll. How many people, if we had a training that said, this is how you talk to a school board, this is how you run for a school board, if we brought somebody down to train us in how to have a public voice or how to do that, how many people would actually be interested in going to a training? I'm just trying to decide if it's worth, we're going to put it together. Okay, I would go just to find out how to write a better letter kind of thing. Okay, that's enough bodies that are willing to, okay, we'll pursue that. Thank you.
The blood donor thing. We need it right here. I think we're done with our agenda. We're done with our agenda. We want to dismiss you guys into fellowshipping and hanging out. Of course, Abby wants to. Yeah, we're doing groups.
We have a question. Jeff, we have a question.
Oh, yeah.
There have been a couple of dates thrown out about walkouts or whatever, and I've heard November 3rd. Is anything being done here
Do you know
locally?
something about that?
Or November 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, and that's supposed to be a nationwide walkout.
I've heard it. I've heard 3rd and 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th as nationwide on both. I don't know anything about a local one. Does anyone? I too have heard the viral nationwide ones. Okay. Okay, Robert F. Kennedy's calling for the 3rd, but I would warn y'all, we're going to be labeled insurrectionists if you start, doing stuff in mass on significant days like, November 3rd and January 6th and all that crazy stuff. But nonetheless, we got our voices to be heard. Yeah, that's right. But not go to work, not open your job. Not yet, to just who wins. Interesting, okay. I don't know about those details, and if we find out more information, yeah, don't spend any money. Right, make a peanut butter jelly sandwich and eat it home. So one thing we would like to do is we don't have a plan of action for our local school board in Roseburg. I would love to invite a think tank, a group of people to come, and maybe we'll just sit over in this area over here. And if you want to talk about maybe what we could do, come and join me right after that, right after this meeting over there, okay? And everybody else, you can just grab a cup of coffee, or you can meet in a group. Is there people that want to talk? Where the federal people want to meet? Signing letters? Do you want to go up here? Abby wants to save me from myself right now.
I don't. No, but make sure, network, get together with each other and talk and share ideas and resources and tools and pump each other up for sure. But before you leave, the survey, leave it in a stack of the surveys. Okay. Surveys will go in a stack on the back counter. And there's also the you stood by letters in the back. So if you would like to get the you stood by letters taken care of here tonight, or if you want to take one copy home and make copies, but if you take a copy home, please sign that sucker and make copies and mail them off to your elected officials. Yes. No, Tina's not here, but I could have some of the people in that group type up a little short kind of report, and we could post that in the main. Okay. So, Janae? That's a great idea. Thank you, Janae. So yeah, she can email you the labels. She worked really hard, taking them all off the internet, type them all up and get them ready to go. Made it really easy for everybody. If there's someone you know or 5 people you know that might sign some of those papers, send them to them, get them copies, and send them the labels as well. But we try to have action items completed at each of our meetings, so before you leave, please do those. Yes?
I didn't know when you had started sending your letters or whatever. Have you gotten any replies from any of the congressmen? Any?
Well, I'm not sure that we've sent any before now to any, I mean, as a group. I don't know if anybody, Sheila has. Clay, do you have the microphone?
Did you get any?
Oh, you have? Oh, because this spring I had written to all of our congressmen that were in the Beacon, their addresses, and I didn't get one reply.
Oh, yeah, they're terrible about it.
I thought,
I think myself, I got a
I was
reply
like,
back
are they
from.
listening?
The emails. And so a lot of them will have those like jot forms where you can't send it to a specific email. You just have to fill the information in and send. But that's what we like about hard copies, because you can delete a bunch of emails away or get them bounced out, and you get an envelope or a stack of copies, hard copies on your desk. That's a little bit harder to ignore. And snail mail works still. So again, there's a lot of ways to do it. If you want to sign them here, if you want to take a copy and get the labels, you can. Did you have a question? Awesome. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, don't go to work. I kept my boys home. I kept my boys home on the whatever national, whatever, keep your kids home from school day. Yeah, go to lunch or make your own if they're not working.
They've had their exemption approved, and then we find out later on that I know for the state workers and for the firefighters that it only goes till February. So I don't understand what that's about.
I think it's just more opportunity to try to push them into a corner, but and there goes too, the more people who push back now, they'll get rid of that February deadline. It'll eventually just go away. I mean, even Biden's administration is backtracking now. So the more people push back on those, then it'll be done. I mean, we end this. It's up to us. I mean, as long as we play along with it, it's going to go on. But once the country decides enough is enough, and if hopefully a nation shuts down, I'm fine. We've got, canned food in the cupboard. I don't really like going to town anyway, so I'm fine with it. But that's what it's going to take. It's going to be pushing back and saying, no, we're done with it. So, again, is there any other questions? Yes? Exactly. Yeah, Australia is a great example. He asked about, as far as an example of where our country is headed, looking at Australia and what's been happening there, as far as if something doesn't happen soon to change direction, that's exactly where we're headed. So things have been pretty nasty there. If anybody doesn't know, look into Australia. Sheila? Oh, where's Clay at with them?
So David lost his job at Mercy, or didn't lose, was put on leave, administrative leave.
Because they rejected both of his
right.
religious
They asked
exemptions.
him to resubmit it. He resubmitted it, and they denied it again. So, anyways, he had a job offer in Idaho, in Sandpoint, and actually, the grandparents and the aunt and uncle got COVID in Lakeview, so they went to Lakeview to take care of them, get them well. While we're there, David gets up in the morning. He starts praying. He said he felt led to pray. He didn't feel like he was going to Idaho. So he just prayed and he said, I'm a stubborn man. God, you need to give me direction. And I was on my way to that day, and I just prayed for David and Hannah also. Just, Lord, I count it joy, and I just asked him to just cover them and direct them. So anyways, David and Hannah, after they're praying, Hannah was on a website, and as our praying, Bozeman, Montana came up on her phone, and across from her, David's phone started ringing, and it was Bozeman, Montana. And the guy said, I've been trying to get a hold of you. He said, we have a job. Did you take a job? And he said, well, I did, but I just don't feel really good about it, he said. And he told him the situation, told him what happened. And he said, I have a home health organization here. He said, I'm a Christian. He said, I have nurses, respiratory therapists, physical therapists, he said. And he said, we really want you to come work for us, he said, and you don't have to have the shot, he said, and offered him more money, a sign-on bonus, and has a realtor already lined up for him to meet there, to find a place to live, and said, if you don't like working for us, they're breaking ground for a brand new hospital, he said, and you can work there.
That's great news for them. So David is actually one of the people who came to some of our first in-person kind of meetings with the sheriff and then with the county commissioners, and he spoke up. He was an employed Mercy RN, had been working with the COVID patients, and he tried to speak up to Commissioner Freeman as far as, in our arguments about Dr. Dannenhofer's one focused message that he's been giving, saying that the message not getting out there, that there's 3 protocols at work for early treatment, and they're not doing that, and they're not talking about the other underlying issues that is causing people to get very sick and or dying. So David spoke up, David stuck to his guns, and he did turn in the religious exemption, and twice, yep, and it was denied by Mercy. And so anyways, and I really only knew him from coalition stuff, but I haven't spent a lot of time with them, but they feel like family. Big loss. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that, they're being led, so that's good news for David and Hannah, although it sucks that they had to leave Oregon because, we're getting way off now, but, my husband and I have gone back and forth. He's like, we got to leave, and I said, the thing is if we leave, it's going to find you somewhere else. The conservative red states, they're kind of well, I wouldn't say they're lax, but it's going to go there. They've kind of infiltrated out into every little place. So the fight's here, the fight's now, so jump in. Everybody jump in. Network, have a good night, visit with people, share your tools and resources, sign that you stood by letter, turn in your surveys, and keep coming. Bring your friends next time.